Welcome to the Happiness Matters podcast with me, your coach, Julia Seal, where we explore the puzzle of whole being happiness as professional women in our midlife, how to coach ourselves and live into the best version of ourselves, resilient, creative, and thriving, no matter what. Hello everyone, we're back, and my apologies for our slight delay in the podcast. We have had incredibly hectic wind in Cape Town, and so I couldn't record yesterday. But we're back to exploring our brain design as we unpuzzle our midlife happiness together. Understanding how our brains are structured is really helpful in learning to use them as the powerful computers they are, using them on purpose and intentionally or consciously to create this next phase of our life. So let's get on with it. Let's look in detail today at our RAS. Did you even know that you had a RAS? A Reticular Activating System. Dry as it sounds, the RAS is key to creating your best life in midlife, helping you untangle what's making you unhappy and creating deep, profound, long-lasting, unshakable, whole-being happiness. So from puzzled and confused to puzzle solve the artwork of your life. I briefly mentioned the RAS in a previous episode 1.48 called Time Travel, Going Back to Your Future, and it was a fun episode where we jumped from your past to your future and back again, like Marty and Doc in the 1980s movie Back to the Future. We went deeper into the idea of your future self and your past self and how to use them to create your own new normal. If you're interested in one powerful way of using your RAS, I'll put the link in the show notes on Happiness-Matters.coach, or you can find it in the podcast player, Series 1, Episode 48. Now the RAS, our brain's reticular activating system. It's a network of neurons or nerve cells in our brainstem. And this intricate, complex web lies in the very core of our brain, in our original brain, the primal brain or the reptilian brain. It's about 5 centimeters long. That's about 2 inches for those of you in the States, and about as thick as a pencil. To get a sense of where it is, put your hand on the back of your neck, right at the top of your neck, and the RAS lies up and in from there. You might remember from episode 2.2, Midlife Brains, Reptiles, or What, that this oldest part of our brain, the primal brain, controls very vital functions. It's the area in charge of automatic reactions to our environment, reactions out of our conscious control, like heart rate and the fight or flight response. And that's why we're back here again this week, looking at what's going on here in more detail and getting to know the RAS within the brainstem. It's such an important aspect of our brain to make friends with. And while it may seem impossible to work with something that operates at such an instinctive primal level, we absolutely can. So this little pencil-shaped area plays a role in many brain activities. It's part of regulating wakefulness, arousal, and aspects of sleep, which is rather vital in midlife. It plays a role in neurotransmitter production, such as dopamine, another vital piece for us in midlife. And it's an important player in our fight or flight response. But for today, I want to look at how the RAS acts as a gatekeeper to the information coming in from our senses. All our senses, except for smell, are wired directly into the RAS. So at this point, the RAS is the first filter of almost all the sensory input coming into our brain. Just like one of those scary, rough bouncers at the door of a nightclub. The RAS gets to decide what gets in and what makes it through into our conscious mind. It is helped by the thalamus, which does more refined filtering. Now, the RAS's gatekeeper role filters an incredibly massive amount of information that our sensory organs are constantly throwing at it, and selecting the tidbits that are most important for our conscious mind to pay attention to. So our RAS decides what's important and what can be safely ignored. To get an idea of the enormously important role of this gatekeeping filter, here are some examples of what the RAS is doing. So our skin is about 2 meters squared, or 20 square feet, with 1 million nerve cells detecting pressure, pain, temperature every second. Our eyes are capturing 300 megapixels of visual information every second. Our online life is exposing us to more than 34 gigabytes of information every day. Now, it's been estimated that the unconscious processing abilities of our brain is 11 million pieces of information per second. Hello, that's our RAS. Even more mind-blowing, yes, there's more, when you consider that our conscious mind can only process a maximum of 100 pieces of information every second. So in computer terms, that's 50 to 120 bits per second, or more simply, 3 to 4 things at a time, or no more than 2 people talking to you at the same time. So to really spell it out, in case the numbers are just too extraordinary for you to believe, the total bandwidth or information flow in from our eyes is 100 million bits per second, but our conscious bandwidth is 30 bits per second. The total bandwidth of our skin is 1 million bits per second, but our conscious bandwidth is 5 bits per second. The total bandwidth of our ears is 100,000 bits per second, but our conscious bandwidth for hearing is 40 bits per second. Like I said, it's mind-blowing. So the RAS, as the gatekeeper between all the sensory information and our conscious brain, has to do a huge amount of paring down, choosing what's important and must be let in, and what needs to be discarded as superfluous, what's relevant and irrelevant, and it's doing it all the time, all in service of keeping us safe and surviving, able to react and respond to our outer world. I really like thinking about my RAS as my own version of the algorithms that work behind Google and Facebook. We're all freaked out about these algorithms at the moment. We're really only starting to understand the power of algorithms in our online life. But basically, an algorithm is a step-by-step procedure for a calculation used in data processing. How they work in social media includes sorting posts in our feed based on relevancy instead of publish time. So content gets prioritized on whether we'll actually want to see it based on what we've looked at previously. So you can think of algorithms as another filtering system, just like our RAS. The huge amount of information out there in the world, we cannot possibly take it all in, and so it needs to be filtered, either for us by the social media platforms or the search engine algorithms, or by our own RAS. They're all operating unseen and pretty much out of our control, kind of behind the scenes, out of our conscious awareness. Mostly we're seeing social media and search engine filtering systems as a bad thing. Think of the manipulation of the UK Brexit vote, the possibility of Russian intervention in the USA elections, especially as this year Apple has taken a groundbreaking stance in user privacy and given us the power to turn off tracking on our iPhones, tracking that previously allowed apps to track and collect data from our activities on our iPhones, which is used for the algorithmic sorting of information and adverts that get delivered to us, amongst other more potentially sinister things. So Apple's move is a good thing in terms of, Big Brother from George Orwell's 1984. But what we're forgetting is the gift of the algorithms, the gift of these filtering systems. They're filtering out all the information and choosing what to deliver to your Facebook page or your Google search. We'd probably explode or go into system overload if we had to do all the work ourselves. Just think about what we've discovered now about the processing ability of the conscious brain. I mean, did you know that there are now more than 1,197,000,000 websites out there? Imagine you wanted to search for something right now and having to go through all of these to find something vaguely relevant to us. It's a yikes. Already we think we're overloaded with too much information. So imagine that. Now, what's the problem? I can hear you say. I mean, who wants to sort through billions and billions of websites or trillions and trillions of bits of information about the world every day? And surely the RAS can be left alone to do its thing. Let's think about what we're doing in coaching, whether it's together with me or in your own self-development. We are looking to change something about your current life, to get beyond stuck, to do something you've never managed before, to add something new to your life, to stop doing something you no longer want to do, to shift who we are showing up at work and in our relationships. It's about change. Changing what we do, changing what we feel, changing what we think, changing the results we're getting in the world in our midlife. But what's happening is that this unseen filtering process is making change hard. Want to know why it's often said change is hard? Well, this is one reason. The RAS is currently filtering out what is irrelevant and unimportant to you now. But what if we're trying to learn something new, something that was never relevant until now? How do we bypass the RAS to let this information into our conscious mind when before we weren't interested? That's the first issue. Then, the RAS is always scanning the incoming data for danger, things that might potentially threaten our safety. And change often activates our fear response. The flight or fight system can kick in if something new is introduced and our system considers it a threat to our well-being. And as you know from past episodes, if the fear response kicks in, well, the primitive primal brain takes over with automatic unconscious reactions, and our conscious responsive brain is sidelined. Not so useful when you're trying to change the way you react or respond to something. Now, if change doesn't activate the fear response, if we can stay curious and open to new information, then we can really start to work with the RAS and actually get it working for our new goals, our new shifts. We might even be able to reprogram our RAS. Working with your RAS is part of what we do when you're coaching with me. It's a seamless process of unpacking what's going on behind the scenes and where you're getting in your own way by the way you're currently using your brain. So yes, we do start to reprogram your RAS. The very first step in how to do this is to look at your life right now. First of all, how anxious are you? How overwhelmed are you? Do you have too much adrenaline and cortisol? If this is you right now, then the next best thing is to start to calm your system down first. Lasting change doesn't take place in a system under stress, as your survival brain is running the show to keep you safe. So meditation can help, exercise can help. Self-care tells your primal brain that you're okay, you're safe, and so it can settle down. The next thing is ensuring that you're not actually triggering your fear response. So is your desired change sending your brain back into fight or flight automatic reactive mode? So if your desired change is based on negative self-judgment reigned over by your nasty inner critic, forcing yourself to change will only last in the short term. Giving up chocolate, something you've always considered a comforting special treat, but now you're giving up because you must lose this middle-aged spread because you're too fat and ugly. It's not going to stick beyond a few days, or it might last a little while driven by willpower until the next time you're having a difficult day and you need a comforting treat. Adding a new habit into your midlife just because you should will not make it sticky. With these 2 steps under your belt, we can now start reprogramming your RAS. So while things that are scary and threaten your survival will always get through the RAS, we can actually set the agenda for the rest of the information with your conscious mind. We can decide what other kind of information comes through to your conscious awareness. Decide consciously, on purpose, intentionally, what to let through. Then the RAS gets to work filtering this, working for us by helping us see more of what we want to see or hear or feel. Actually, this conscious filtering is one of the ways the law of attraction can work. We could even say that the RAS enables the law of attraction. And the law of attraction says, if you read the popular 2009 book, The Secret, that we manifest whatever we're focusing our minds on, good and bad. So if there's something we really want in our lives, we need to focus on it very intentionally and so attract it into our lives. Now, the law of attraction is really the well-known psychological concept called confirmation bias. The confirmation bias being our mind's tendency to notice and pay more attention to objects and experiences that match our pre-existing thoughts and beliefs. The RAS's role here, together with the more sophisticated thalamus, is simply letting in more information about that which we want. So it comes through the filtering system and into the rest of the brain. What's important to us here in our self-coaching is that the RAS is operating under our conscious awareness all the time. The same applies to visualization and how the mind-body connection works for us. The topic of episode 1.48, where I look at how Olympians have made the RAS work for them. The brain is really a powerful computer, so it's not all quite as simple as this. But in order to reprogram your RAS when coaching with me, we look at ways to increase or reduce your exposure to what you're changing, ways to redirect your attention to what will support your intended success, and particularly shifting deeper thoughts and belief systems that might be sabotaging your success. This is how we can influence, even control, what information is let through into your conscious mind. Something we're very careful about when reprogramming and working with your RAS is not falling into the trap of positivity whitewashing. This is not about cutting out the negative in our lives, denying the other 50% of our emotional lives. Remember, Happiness Matters is all about crafting your deep, lasting happiness that lies at your foundation, even on days of extreme grief, existential loneliness, or horror at the cruelty in the world, embracing all our emotions. Building resilience, tapping into creativity, and thriving comes from this place. It's also where we can make our biggest contribution as midlife women, not shutting negativity out, not running from difficult emotions, not chasing hedonistic happiness, but being able to hold both. Look out for me live on social media. Search for Happiness-Matters.coach, as I'll be talking more on this, the law of attraction, confirmation bias, lateral inhibition, and chasing happiness, and how we can work with the RAS without falling into happiness traps that will destroy your midlife happiness, not create it. In the meantime, you can strengthen your RAS's ability to help you with a daily gratitude journal practice. This is not positivity whitewashing, but a tool, a very effective tool for helping the RAS filter through the events of our day with a positive eye, one that is less judgmental, intolerant, and critical. We want to be softer in our relationships or more powerful. A simple reminder on your phone will help keep this top of your mind. And your RAS goes to work to find reinforcing information through your day, and yes, opportunities for you to keep practicing it. Years ago, I decided to enjoy my long commute into my corporate job. Sitting in traffic in first gear day after day, I started to look for smiles. People smiling in their cars or walking down the road. Smile shapes on the cars in front of me, in the tree branches and in the leaves, in building construction, smiles on billboards. There is a smile everywhere if you care to look. Now think about it. How much of this little habit has contributed towards me starting a business 15 years later called Happiness Matters, focusing on deep, profound, long-lasting, whole-being happiness? So now, how do you feel about this little web of neurons in your brain stem? Pretty excited, I hope. Excited to see how even a part of our powerful automatic primitive brains can be turned to work for us, not only for our survival, but for supporting the creation of whole-being happiness, our best lives in midlife. As a reminder, Series 2 is all about this, brain management. What I call the 4 pillars of brain management, the 4 corner puzzle pieces of midlife happiness. And we're spending time on this year, on these 4: brain design, meditation, body as brain, and life patterns. You can find a map of this puzzling journey, an overview of my Happiness Matters jigsaw puzzle of whole being happiness by listening back to episodes 2.0 and 2.1. And actually, you can find everything on the website Happiness-Matters.coach. The show notes for this episode, all my free coaching tools, the meditations I've recorded for you, to help you calm down your brain and body, and any recent live streams. It's all there for you. So from me, may you be happy. May you be free. There is no better time to coach together. Bye for now. It's so cold this early morning. My RAS refused to help me wake up, and only the alarm clock worked.
Thank you for joining us on this Happiness Matters podcast, coaching your whole being happiness in midlife. To join Julia for more of her midlife conversations, subscribe for free to her coaching notes by email and to this podcast. Search for Happiness Matters in Midlife to find us in your favorite podcast player app. Once you're subscribed, both of these will be delivered to your device automatically. To find all of this, click the subscribe menu of our website, Happiness-Matters.coach. That's Happiness-Matters.coach. COACH. And thanks again for listening.